Shabbat Shalom. We start with Shalom Aleichem, page 142, page 142. This prayer welcomes the angels of Shabbat, so we invite them to be with us for this time of rest and reflection, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharei, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachi hashalom, Malachi elyon, Mi melech, Malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachi hashalom, Malachi elyon, Mi melech, Malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem leshalom, Malachi hashalom, Malachi elyon, Mi melech, Malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 127. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Page 136, Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei Eliv, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo yishtahavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai b'koach, kol Adonai behadar, kol Adonai shover arasim, vayishaber Adonai et arze halvanon, ציון כמו בן רמי יאי נאי 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 איי אלאי נאי 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 איי נאי 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 איי אלאי לאי איי אלאי לאי
This poem by Stacey Zizuk Robinson. And so we stand on the edge of this week, pebbles strewn at our feet, and the distance between an endless heartbeat, the difference like night, like day, like light and darkness, like God who separates the days and brings us ever and always to this holy edge, to this Shabbat, where we stand trembling with effort, weary from a week filled with noise and action and movement, restless and driven from one moment to the next until we are brought to this edge, this endless and always edge, to this Shabbat, sacred and at peace. We pause, we breathe, at rest, separate, together with God, together with one another in a flickering flame of candlelight, the setting of the sun, from one breath to the next, one heartbeat. We stand on the edge and cross into the infinite as one, into peace, into Shabbat. Page 138, Lecha Dodi, we welcome Shabbat, and we will sing all the verses. We'll get to the last verse. We'll stand, face the door, and welcome the Shabbat.
לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה בראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומי צאי מתוך אף אחד רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה והוא יחמור עלייך חמלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה התנערי באפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי קור ואל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise now, we face the doors, and we welcome the Shabbat.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We're on page 140, page 140, as we sing the prayer which our ancestors teach us was sang by Adam, the very first human being in the Garden of Eden on the very first Shabbat. So imagine the sun sinking in the garden paradise and Adam singing these words, page 140.
טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Now invite you to take a moment and to become really comfortable in your seats. If you'd like to do so, close your eyes and just bring yourself to this moment, to this place, to this time. Spend a few minutes now noticing your breath, listening, feeling your chest rise and fall. And as you do so, feel the peace of Shabbat wrap around you and embrace you as you relax and enter into this sacred space, this place suspended in time, a place where the cares of your daily life just float away on your breath as you breathe out. Release all the tension of the week. Let go of the stresses and the pressure, the hurt, the pain. Let it all go as you feel the Shabbat entering into this space. You breathe in the light and the warmth, the beauty and the peace of Shabbat, and feel it enter your soul, deep in that restful, sheltered place where you feel loved and embraced and complete. Take a moment to cast your mind back through the week and remember something precious and beautiful. Maybe you felt a connection with someone else. Maybe you felt gratitude, happiness, peacefulness. Maybe you noticed the beauty of nature. grateful for the people in your life. Perhaps you encountered a thought, an idea, a poem, music, something which touched your soul. Take these moments to feel at peace as you feel yourself connect with the earth and with the world, with this place and this sacred time of Shabbat. As you breathe slowly and deeply in and out.
Adonai malach geut lavesh Adonai os hit azai aftikon tevel patimot nachon kisacha me'az me'olam ata. Nasu neharot Adonai, nasu neharot kolam, Yisu neharot doch yam, mikolot mayim rabim, adirim mishperei yam, adir bamarom Adonai edotecha ne'emnu me'od levetcha navakodesh Adonai leorech yamim yalalai lalai lai lai lalai yalalai nanai nai 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 ai yalai yai lai lalai yananai nanai nai 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 ai ai lalai ai yalai ai ai nai 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 ai nai nai ai nai nai ai nai 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 ya la lai la lai ya lai la lai ya na nai 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 levetcha navakodesh Adonai leorech yamim.
We rise page 146, page 146 for the Baruch Hu.
Ya na na na
page 149, page 149. I invite you to read together with me in the English. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150, a prayer which speaks of God's love for us.
בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו שוכבים וקומים נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצאך היום על לבביך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבתך בדרך ובשבתך ובקומך, וזכרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וזכרתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ויעשו להם ציצית, על כנפיק בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בצל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניהם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם, אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
We continue now, Micha Mocha, page 158, page 158. Page 160, page 160, we come now to the Hashkivenu prayer. This prayer asks that a shelter of peace be placed upon us, that we be wrapped in warmth and protection. And as we come to this prayer tonight, we think of all those who are in need of healing. So many are struggling at this time, in need of our prayers. For some, it is a pain of the body, for others, a pain of the spirit. For all of those who need healing at this time, we embrace you and we hope that you feel the strength and the love, the arms of community wrapped around you. This prayer is for all those who are feeling afraid or vulnerable, lost or alone. Maybe it's you who needs our prayer tonight, or perhaps it's someone close to you, a friend or a family member, or it could be a stranger. Anyone you know who needs to feel our love, our support, our prayers, bringing them hope and strength and peace. Our prayers are for all those who need to not feel alone this Shabbat. Fros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us your shelter of peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Ufros aleinu
Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם.
Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Page 162. Page 162, we rise Vashamru. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. The Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of night. Eternity utters a day.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We continue now with the silent portion of our service. We go from page 164 all the way to page 180, 180. If you want to pray the traditional words, you read just the right-hand side of every page. On the facing pages are meditations, reflections, readings. You might wish to choose one or two of those, or just take this time for your own private meditation and prayer. And when you've completed your prayer, we invite you to be seated and we'll continue with the service. If we continue, you haven't finished, just take your time, reconnect with us when you're ready. 164 to 180.
ייבנה. ינני ני ינני עולם חסד ייבנה. ינני I will build this world from love. Yananai, nai, nai, yananai, nai. And you will build this world from love. Yananai, nai, nai, yananai, nai. If we build this world from love, yananai, nai, nai, yananai, nai. God will build this world from love. Yananai, nai, nai, yananai, nai. Olam chesed ייבנה. 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 Yananai, nai, nai, yananai, nai.
We'd now like to invite you to stand, page 122, and invite all the young people, all those people who have not yet reached the age of bar or bat mitzvah, to come and join us as Asher, our bar mitzvah, is going to lead us in the words of Kiddush. You're not Asher, you're in a little while.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וחוצה בעם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויחל אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות סברים החניים ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קודשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו לשבת קודשו ואהבה וברצון הנהי לנו זיכרון מעשה דורשת כי יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בך תבלתנו קידשת מכל העמים והשבה כל שרב, והאהבה וברצון, הנהלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Now we offer a blessing to all of our children. Yisimchem Elohim Ephraim v'chi Menashe Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May God make you like our ancestors, like Ephraim and Manasseh, like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless and protect you. May God's face shine on you and be present with you. May God's love always surround you, bring you peace and a beautiful, sweet Shabbat. And if you go past Gabriella, she will give you something sweet for the Shabbat. Fair enough. My grandmother was a woman who had a very close relationship with God. She would talk with God, argue, disagree, plead, and beg. She and God talked often. God was always with her wherever she went, a part of her life and her world, as certainly and as present as every single one of her family members, except I think sometimes God was even closer. She said the Shema every evening, recited Psalm 121 in the morning. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help will come from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. God was there and with her, and she never spoke about death, but she used to speak about a time when she would close her eyes, and that was how she hoped and dreamed she would leave this earth. And that was actually what happened. She closed her eyes, didn't wake up, and her soul left. But just like God's presence in her life, it's funny, I feel my Nonna's presence with me often. I can't describe it, but she's a palpable force around me, even now, more than 30 years since she closed her eyes. I'm often really envious of my grandmother's relationship with God. It was uncomplicated. It was a given. It was just a part of life. She didn't grapple with what God's gender was, what God did in the world, why bad things happened to some people and not others, why tragedies befell her. God was just there, walking beside her in life and in death. And I know this might sound strange from me, coming from someone who spoke 2 weeks ago right here about God and gender and how important language is because it shapes worlds. And to be sure, I grapple and wrestle with ideas of what God is and how we should understand this force or this essence or this energy and being. But at the same time, I long for and yearn for those moments when God and I are like my Nonna was with God, in a relationship where there's no questioning, where we don't discuss, we don't wrestle, we just are. I remember listening to a speech given by a devout Christian, and she was speaking about what God is for her. She read a prayer, the essence of which was that God is love. God is a force in the world who knows us like nobody else knows us. God is there and a presence, and the gift God gives us is unconditional love, an all-encompassing, enveloping acceptance, a place where we can find shelter and most of all be seen and heard and known for all of who we are, embraced and loved for every part of us. That God about which she spoke is a place of surrender, a place of shelter, a place of blessing and light, which is there for each and every person, intimate, close, a loving friend. And even though she would not have articulated it like that, I think God was that for my Nonna and For many of us, God can be that too. Uncomplicated, a source of goodness, a well from which we can draw comfort and strength, shelter and blessing. Now, I don't like to talk about God much, which may seem weird for a rabbi, and given that it is also ironic that here I am the second time in a month and possibly again tomorrow morning speaking about God. But I think part of it is because I assume that half of you will switch off the second I say the word God, because you've already determined for yourselves something of your relationship with God, which either means you don't have one, don't want one, or don't believe there is anything with whom or which to have a relationship. And I understand that. I believe that the word God has been burdened and layered with so many layers of meaning, and the God many of us have rejected or turned away from is not, in fact, the God that many of us have in our beliefs and in our hearts. But sometimes I worry we've become so burdened down by the different labels and categories, the language, the theology, that sometimes it's easier to walk away than to engage in that grappling and wrestling. This Shabbat, we focus on Jacob, the patriarch who I believe had the most complicated relationship of all of them with God. From him we get our name Israel, Yisrael, a people who wrestle with God. Jacob has 2 encounters with divine beings, with angels, one at the beginning of this week's portion and one next week. In both, he is surprised and he is changed as a result of his encounters. Now, was Jacob wrestling with an actual being, an angel, with God? Or maybe he was just wrestling with himself. We'll never know. But it's from his confrontation and engagement with that divine that he grows and becomes the man who can then go to his brother and seek forgiveness, the man who recognizes his wrongdoing in the world and works to heal his relationships. He stops running and for the first time confronts his past, his behavior, and it is only then he's able to move forward. And perhaps that's because he found that wellspring of love, which my Christian friend speaks about. A force or an energy which surrounds him with peace and hope and strength and light. Jacob bargains with God. Jacob questions and wrestles. From him we receive the name Yisrael, people who struggle and wrestle with the divine. For many people, ideas of God have become entangled with reward and punishment, with lightning bolts and fantastical stories of floods and towers reaching to the heavens, snakes and forbidden fruit. Sacrifices and priests, sprinkling blood and entrails burning on an altar. That God perhaps doesn't speak to us in the same way that Jacob encountered and heard God in his desert wanderings, when he wakes up and said, God was in this place and I didn't know it. Maybe God is in many places and we just don't know it. Maybe God is not a being on high with a long beard striking down those who do wrong, exacting vengeance on our enemies. Maybe God is many other things. Love between people, kindness, compassion, caring, surrender, hope, peace. Maybe God is inside us all. Maybe God is in silence. Maybe God is in the sounds of nature, in the heart that is moved to help and heal, in the hand that reaches out to lift up the fallen, in the hug that brings comfort and is filled with compassion and love. God could be everywhere and nowhere, within us and outside us. And perhaps God is the mystery and the places where we say, I don't know, but it's okay that I don't know. So this Shabbat, as we read the story of Jacob, of Israel, the God wrestler, we who are Israel continue our wrestling and our understanding of the possibilities of what God can be, and even where we can have an encounter like Jacob. And maybe we can wake up and exclaim, God was in this place. How magical is this place? It is the very gateway to the heavens. We continue with Aleinu, page 586. Page 586, we rise.
Aleinu leshabeach Adon hakol, letzit gedulat leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Page 598, page 598. At this time, there are mourners in our community to whom we extend our sincerest sympathies on the deaths of their loved ones. We are in the period of Shiv'ah for Jacqueline Perry. We are observing Shloshim for John Brieger, Zuleika White, Yetta Nick, Serena Hershon, and George Gelb. We observe Yahrzeit this Shabbat for Lily Edelman, Fruma Angert, Marcus Barnes, Samuel Barrett, Sam Baskier, Max Berman, Rose Brandon, Uta Malka Brock, Esther Blumer de Veer, Shlomo Yitzhak de Veer, Jean Duplessis, Claire Ehrlich, Esther Eisen, Malka Eisen, David Emder, Gabor Engel, Rose Fagan, Sylvia Feidler, Leslie Fried, Olga Fried, Waldemir Grandwall, Miriam Rivka Grinberg, Grace Grunberg, Inez Herrera, Sylvia Hertz, Stephen Hofbauer, Ellie Jankelson, Hannah Jankelson, Hazel Katz, Ruth Katz, Samantha Kidron, Rena Kahn, Bernard Cormedi, Gunther Lindemann, Harry Lonstein, Margaret Lundberg, Hilda Violet Marks, David Morris, George Myers, Maya Monty-Nerich, Henrik Prednovic, Maggie Raab, Joseph Rabinovich, Jacob Rath, Hyman Robinson, Danuta Roman, Helen Roth, John Saunders, Betty Schwartz, Mignon Siegel, Isaac Schneiderman, Emmanuel Silberg, Morris Silbert, Selwyn Simon, Danielle Surmai, David Snedden, Anne Snow, Zachar Saludin, Ludwig Streimer, Andor Selecki, Moselle Tassi, Sabina Taylor, and George Teitler. We also add the name of someone who was murdered in the Shoah. This week we remember Camilla Hirsch. Are there other names to mention at this time of mourners Kaddish? Sorry, Elsa Korn. Thank you. Elka Soifer. Yosef ben Girji Aziza, Joe Mordecai. The memories of all of them are in our hearts. May they continue to be a blessing for each one of us. We recite Mourners Kaddish, page 598. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah. Be'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'hayechon uvyom echon uvhaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha Barichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God send peace to those who mourn, comfort to the bereaved among us. And may the memories of those we loved sit forever gently in our hearts, and we say amen. Please be seated. We have an event coming up in the synagogue on Tuesday evening, and I'm going to have Rabbi Mordechai tell us about it, one with...
In just around Kristallnacht, at the time of Kristallnacht in 1938, there was a delegation from the Aboriginal League that marched down to the German consulate in Melbourne and protested it. It was a really amazing thing that happened, and we want to acknowledge that this Tuesday, on the 6th of December here, we're going to commemorate that event. And it's going to be an amazing experience here with Indigenous artists performing and also telling the story as well of the march down to Melbourne. So we'd like you all to come if you can. What time is it again? 7 o'clock, right? I think it's 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, the 6th.
It's all on the website and in bulletins, all kinds of places you can find out more. We have a few more events coming up in the synagogue before the end of the year. We're going to have 2 more Shabbat Lives, I think, until the end of the year. So please come and join us for those 2, and then we'll all have a bit of a summer break and hopefully come back refreshed and rejuvenated and ready to go. The Shabbat keeps going, even though we don't. We wish Asher Mazel Tov on his bar mitzvah, and we look forward to continuing this celebration with you and your family tomorrow. And I want to say a huge thank you to our 2 family groups of singers here, of musicians tonight. We have the Mordechai family singers and musicians, and we have the Goldman family musicians. So we are very grateful to all of you for being part of our Shabbat Live experience and always bringing your beautiful music and your hearts and your spirits. We are very grateful to all of you, and very, very blessed. And a special thank you to Michelle, who stepped in at the last minute and to help us out. So incredibly grateful, and thank you. And I think I see 2 Goldman daughters here, which is unbelievable. So we welcome you both. We're so happy to have you here. I would invite them to come sing, but they probably won't. They'll be amazing, but we welcome you. It's so nice to see you all here. I think you want me to stop talking. That's why we're going to... I'm getting the wind up. And there was going to be a visitor here from our sister congregation in Perth, but I don't see them. There was also going to be a baby naming, but the baby didn't come, so that's all right. I saw the baby yesterday. Probably doesn't want to see me anymore after yesterday's experience with the doctor. So, maybe that's why he's not here today. He said, I'm not going to see that woman again. Right, we are going to conclude with Oseh Shalom. Hopefully you all know the words. It's in the book somewhere. Join us, and and also thank you to Jessie, as always, for incredible work behind the scenes. Adon Olam.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, la 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 la.
May we all have a week ahead filled with goodness, with love, with laughter and blessings. Adonai oz la'amo yiten. Adonai varech et amo b'shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
2, 3, 4. La 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 la. La 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 la.